In 2023, the fintech company Klarna laid off about 700 customer service workers and leaned hard into an AI chatbot to cover the work. The CEO called it a glimpse of the future. By 2026, Klarna was quietly hiring humans back. The bot could answer a question about a late fee, but it couldn't tell when a customer was actually in trouble. Somewhere, a boardroom is still filing that under-efficiency. That reversal is the whole story in miniature. This isn't a video about AI taking a job. It's about AI taking the part of the job that taught you how to do the rest of it. This is the tomorrow stack, the technology about to reshape your world before it does. Today's reshape isn't happening on a warehouse floor. We already made that video. This one's about desks. Specifically, the bottom rung of white-collar work. The tedious, low-stakes tasks that used to be how a 22-year-old became a senior engineer, a partner, an analyst who actually knows the job. Those tasks are exactly what current AI is best at. And nobody planned for what happens when you remove the bottom rung of a ladder people are still expected to climb. Here's the evidence, not the vibes. Anthropic, the company that makes Claude, publishes data on exactly which tasks its own AI gets used for most. The list reads like a job description for entry-level anything: writing code, writing database queries, drafting memos, summarizing documents, first-pass editing. Nearly half of all jobs studied now have at least a quarter of their tasks touched by AI. Notice what's on that list. Not invent a new product strategy or manage a client through a crisis. It's the stuff a junior person got handed on day one, safe to get wrong, and doing enough of it eventually taught you the job. And notice which fields show up heaviest in Anthropic's own breakdown: software engineering and administrative support. The exact two fields that, for decades, hired the most 22-year-olds straight out of school. That's not a coincidence. That's the entry door narrowing first. Here's the part almost nobody says out loud. That boring, repetitive junior work was never just busy work. It was training. A junior lawyer reviewing thousands of boring documents was quietly learning to spot the one that mattered. A junior engineer fixing other people's bugs was learning how the whole system broke. Every profession that requires real judgment builds that judgment the same way. Years of low-stakes reps most people would call boring. Automate away the reps, and you haven't just cut a task list. You've cut the training program. And this is exactly the math a $2 trillion company just ran. In October 2025, Amazon cut about 14,000 corporate jobs and said the quiet part out loud in an internal memo: get leaner, with fewer layers, and pour the savings into what it called the most transformative technology since the internet. By the end of 2025, Amazon, Microsoft, and a string of other giants were all citing AI in the same breath as their layoffs. None of them are cutting the training tasks by accident. They're cutting them because, on a spreadsheet, those tasks finally look optional. IBM ran this experiment first, at scale. Around 2023, the company automated roughly 8,000 human resources jobs with an internal system called AskHR: payroll, vacation, benefits paperwork. It handled about 94% of routine requests just fine. But that remaining 6%, the messy, I need an actual person cases, is exactly where new HR staff use to build judgment, one weird case at a time. Automate the routine reps away, and the 6% left over doesn't train anyone. It's just somebody's unsolved problem now. So, the tasks AI automates best, the training they used to provide, and 3 real companies already running that experiment at scale. What we haven't gotten to yet is the part where this stops being a hiring story and becomes a 10 years from now story. Quick thing before we keep going. If a video that cites its sources instead of just vibing about the robots is useful, a like tells the algorithm to put this in front of more people asking the same question. Back to the timeline. So follow this forward. This is a what's coming channel, not a what already happened channel. If companies keep removing the junior rung in 2026 because AI does it cheaper, then in 8 to 10 years, there's a much smaller pool of people who spent their 20s learning how the work actually works. Somebody still has to become the senior engineer who architects the system, the partner who spots the clause that sinks the deal, The editor who catches the story that isn't true. Companies are eating the pipeline that makes those people, while assuming senior talent just keeps showing up. It won't, not on its own. Here's the genuinely hopeful 2026 twist. Some companies are already figuring this out live. Ford quietly rehired around 300 experienced engineers to catch quality problems its AI systems kept missing on their own. Australia's Commonwealth Bank reversed customer service cuts after its AI voice system couldn't keep up with real call volume. And it's not just two anecdotes. A 2026 OrgView survey found 39% of business leaders made AI-linked staffing cuts, and more than half later admitted it was a mistake. Robert Half found roughly 1 in 3 U.S. hiring managers who cut a role for AI ended up rehiring for the same or similar job. A lot of companies are cutting the entry rung, wincing, and starting to rebuild it within a year or two. Put together, that's not proof AI failed. It's proof the market is still figuring out how much of this work it can actually replace, and getting that math wrong is expensive enough that some companies are course-correcting inside a single fiscal year, not a decade. Remember, IBM from earlier, the company that automated 8,000 HR jobs and hit that wall at the 6% mark? In 2026, IBM announced it's significantly increasing entry-level hiring in the U.S. The stated reason, almost word for word, is the thesis of this video. The company needs to maintain a future talent pipeline. Read that again. The company that ran the experiment on cutting the bottom rung is now the one publicly rebuilding it because it noticed the exact gap we just spent several minutes explaining. So if you're actually early in a career right now, here's the practical version of everything we just said. The old advice, take any job, learn on the floor, assumes the floor still exists. In 2026, you have to check. Before you take an offer, ask a blunt question in the interview. Who actually trains junior people here, and how? A team that's automated away its onboarding tasks but never replaced them with real mentorship is quietly telling you there's no ladder to climb, just a seat. Look for teams that pair juniors with seniors on purpose, not by accident. And managers who talk about developing people, not just shipping tickets. Those signals matter more than starting salary, because the skill you build in year 1 is what makes you promotable in year 5. A slightly lower offer at a company that actually teaches you the job beats a slightly higher one at a company that's already cut the rung out from under you. So here's the actual prediction, not just a warning. The companies that keep some kind of junior plus AI apprenticeship track running through this decade are the ones who will own the talent pool in the 2030s, the people who actually learned to do the job. The companies that zeroed out their juniors entirely will be stuck bidding for a shrinking pool of scarce, expensive seniors or quietly rebuilding the rung they tore out, like IBM just did. The machines aren't the villain here. The spreadsheet that only counts this quarter is. If you want to keep seeing which companies are building that talent pool and which ones are about to relearn this the hard way, subscribe, and we'll keep reading the earnings calls so you don't have to. See you in the next one.